Hello everybody, my name is Caden, and welcome back to our Prehistoric Fauna series. Now, for those of you who have been around, you might have noticed this video was supposed to go out last week, but it's been recorded for like 2 or 3 weeks now. But basically, I have just been incredibly busy with the end of the semester stuff, so yeah, no, I just did not have time to get this out last week. But it's here now, so yay. Anyway, like I said, today is the Ceratosaurus exhibit, and I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love how this thing turned out. This has probably become my absolute favorite build I've done so far. I think some people are gonna maybe have an issue with how I've designed the environment of the exhibit, and my defense in this is my usual one. The animal doesn't necessarily care about the environment its enclosure is in, as long as it has enough space and water and food. The look of the actual enclosure is more for the people, not for the dinosaurs. So yeah, just keep that in mind, because I may have used this build as a bit of a trial run for another project, because it has very much I was gonna say southwest, but I mean it's very specifically modeled after a very specific thing, and that's kind of like southeast and a bit of southwest Arizona, because I recently went on a bunch of hikes and yeah, saw stuff like this. So yeah, anyway, it's a very desert themed exhibit, but I think it looks really, really good in the end, and I think this is I know this is exactly what most of the Jurassic area ends up looking like. That being said, the other two exhibits are not as arid, I guess, as the Ceratosaurus one is. The Ceratosaurus one is just a particularly very desert looking exhibit. Probably looks a bit like it's just come out of like Red Dead Redemption 2 in all honesty, but I really like it. I think it's turned out really well, and yeah, I'm excited to see what you guys think of it. Anyway, oh yeah, I have one other thing to say, like update wise, because people have been asking a lot, and that is about Alex's mobs. Basically, much like with this series, I've just been so busy I haven't had time to really start that, so that series may not come out until, I'm thinking, probably the new year, because that's probably when I'll have enough time to really just sit down and make that series happen, because it takes a bit more time since I have to do more voiceovers and stuff, and I can't just sit down as easily and record. But anyway, yeah, so just a little update there. Hopefully the new year should be pretty good. I've got some good plans for what should hopefully come out around then. Anyway, as you can see, we've got kind of a new style of rock wall being built, because I wanted to make all of the areas for the park look a little bit different, so they weren't all just, the same copy paste. Here's the exact same style of wall, here's the exact same style of rocks and fences and whatnot. I actually, I think because someone wanted me to talk more about the inspirations for how I got these builds going. A lot of this exhibit is actually based off of a grizzly bear exhibit, oddly enough, which is where I got the fence design and kind of the idea for how the shelter was going to be integrated. And I feel like the fence, to some people, they might say, oh, well, that doesn't look like a very strong fence for a large theropod dinosaur, but if it can hold I think, well, I mean, obviously, the weight of a Ceratosaurus is hypothetical, since they don't, they aren't currently running around in the United States. But when I was looking into it, I think one of the estimated weight and size for a Ceratosaurus was really not too far off what a large grizzly bear would be, and if you can keep a large grizzly bear in an exhibit like this, I feel like you can probably keep a Ceratosaur. So that's the logic I went with. So you'll notice this one actually doesn't have like a dry moat or anything with it. It's pretty much just fencing, but I think it looks pretty cool. I'm actually kind of trying to avoid doing too many dry moats, just because I don't want this whole zoo to just be dry moats, because although I like them, yeah, I don't really want the whole build, every build, to look the exact same. I think the only one for the Jurassic area that's had one so far, and this is only the current iteration of this build, so it might have changed by the time you actually see it, But that would be the Allosaurus, I think, is going to have one, just because I couldn't really think of how to do a proper fencing for it that didn't look super Jurassic Park, but also would keep it inside the designated area. Anyway, speaking of many iterations, this is, of course, one of many iterations of the Ceratosaurus exhibit. I rebuilt this build so many times. In fact, I've rebuilt all the Jurassic exhibits several times at this point, just because, I don't know, I think there's something about making an exhibit for animals that are larger and, of course, trying to make it look like a very different environment that looks interesting. It's also just kind of difficult. So yeah, anyway, I don't know, it's been interesting doing this series. I feel like this has kind of been a good trial run for me getting back into building zoos. Mostly because since it's dinosaurs, I can be a bit more creative with what I do, because, you know, there aren't really actually any dinosaur exhibits to base these off of, so I get a lot of creative freedom with it. On the other hand, that does mean sometimes they don't turn out the best because I don't have a reference, but I think it's been a good way to get back into this whole thing, so that way for the more realistic zoos we're going to be building hopefully next year, I've kind of nailed down some of the tools I want to learn, some of the techniques I want to try out. In fact, actually, one of the coolest things I figured out with this build, is that for some reason and it's not with iron bars don't do this, most of the other blocks don't do this, but for some reason the chain link fence, or the wire mesh fence, whatever it's called, actually connects to stone walls. So you can get these really cool kind of, well, at least for Minecraft, relatively thin fence posts, which was pretty cool. I was actually pleasantly surprised that worked. Because I was trying to make it not look so, I don't know, what would be the correct word? I don't know, I didn't want it to look super Jurassic Park, with these big, heavily fortified things and whatnot. So I wanted a very kind of thin fence, but it was metal poles, or small concrete poles with wire mesh fencing between them. So it was cool that I actually found a way to do that. I was pretty happy with how that turned out. I might have to port that to some other series, and we'll kind of see if that's a recurring fence type I bring back. At least every now and then. I always like when I'm doing the floor texturing for these videos, because my character just stops moving for a couple of seconds there, and it's just absolutely still and nothing happens, and then suddenly boom, ground texture. There we go. I think, oh, did I change it from that? Yeah. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with how the ground texture for these exhibits ended up turning out. They all kind of follow the same basic pattern. The main difference between them is just I removed the sand from the other two, because I was like, I don't really need sand in the less arid ones, since the Ceratosaurus is really just meant to be in the desert, so, you know. But yeah, I don't know, I'm still very, very happy with this build, and it ends up even better once, of course, you know, the obligatory post time-lapse rebuild of the surrounding area to make it look even better. Trust me, this exhibit just looks fantastic. It is such a fantastic vibe to it, and I absolutely love how it turned out. It's pretty amazing. This was also the other reason I wanted to make this build is because there are a lot of cacti that are added by several of the mods I've been using. So it's been it was kind of cool to get to try them all out and see what worked, see what didn't. Again, this is kind of testing for a separate series and a separate project I was working on. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's really all about I have to say. So I'm gonna leave you guys here, and yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the time lapse and the final shots at the end. Until next time, guys, see ya.